Blueprints is not a game about puzzles. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it's really not. It's a game about fascism, oppression, and revolution, disguised as a roguelite puzzle adventure house building simulator. I didn't really know much about the game going into it, more than it being a puzzle game and the recommendation to keep a physical note for clues. And let me tell you, that thing got crowded real quick. From the first second I stepped into the entrance hall, I kept taking note after note. Most of them would prove themselves totally irrelevant, but that feeling I got when I realized something I scribbled down a few runs ago actually proved worthwhile, man did that feel good. I really enjoyed exploring the mansion, seeing the different rooms and starting to put together some of the context for Simon's journey. It all felt so atmospheric, almost soothing, despite the times when I kept on drafting dead ends early on in the day. If I made progress in writing anything down in my notebook, I'd be satisfied with that one. The game has a really interesting approach to its music. Composers Trigg and Gusset composed a lot of material for the game, which then its creator, Tonda Ross, listened to and assigned to specific rooms throughout the manor. Like the dark and gritty Visions of Emerald that plays in the security room. Or Simon's own theme that plays in the manor's music room. While we never get to interact with any other characters throughout the course of the game, we learn of them as well as the history of this world through photographs, journals, letters, and books, as well as the music associated with the different rooms in the game. A few days into the playthrough, I drafted the garage quite early in the run, and after exploring it and pressing a button a few times which didn't seem to react, I grabbed the keys, chalked it up to dead end for now, and moved on. But later that same run, I also drafted the utility closet, and within its breaker box, I found a power switch to the garage. So I hastily made my way back there, and now the button opened the door to the western garden. As it did, a quiet synth note entered my ear, pulsating as I walked along the pathway, overlooking the manor and its grandeur. And then came that bass clarinet. And in instrument that this game would build its entire sound around. It was honestly an out-of-body experience. I felt like I was transported directly into Simon's shoes, exploring this fantastical manor of my beloved grandfather. But there was also this weight to the music. It felt melancholic. I couldn't at this point put my finger on why that was, because this was just a normal roguelike puzzle adventure house building simulator, right? Right? What this music told me was that there was something much more profound to be uncovered in this game. A story that went beyond the roguelike puzzle adventure house building simulator I thought I had been playing. A game about fascism, oppression, revolution, and legacy. Westwardly Winds came with a shift in how I viewed the game. What was the reason for the melancholy in the music? What was there even to be melancholic about? I had to find out. Not long after, I drafted the library, and on my following run, I got my hands on a book titled The History of Arindia, or at least what was left of it. Upon opening the book, I saw a red stamp of approval, guaranteeing that the book and its content had been edited to conform to the Fen Aeries Central Board of Education standards. Turning the page, I find that its content has been heavily redacted. The book had entire sections blacked out, names had been erased, and historical events had been reduced to fragments. The melancholy suddenly started to make a whole lot of sense. And this wasn't an isolated detail either. Elsewhere in the mansion, there was the classroom teaching the heavily revised history and coloring worksheets where all of the children listed red as their favorite color. The music that plays in the classroom is called History Suspended, which I think is a pretty big tell as to what's truly going on here. Reaching room 46 was no longer a trivial goal. It was trying to teach me something. Something about myself, about this world, and of my place within it. And when I finally reach the inner sanctum and pull the lever that reveals door 46, Ovin Neverray starts to play. The words Ovin Neverray are of Arajan origin and loosely translates to go north towards a new future. And what is the northernmost point in the manor if not room 46? The future lies within that room.
There was once a red prince who sat on a red throne. He had a red crown made of rubies and a red castle made of stone. The prince had a love for all things red. It's the only true colour, the prince often said. He could not stand the sight of a canary or a crow. He could not stand the white of a swan in the snow. And he never looked up for fear of the view. He had heard that the sky was not a red hue. He didn't see the birds or the changing of the leaves. And he never saw the sights of life's many symphonies. He couldn't see beyond the red shade he was aware. He never caught a glimpse of the world I had to share.
The music that plays is called an eclipse. It reuses much of the material from Of a Never Ray, but it sounds lighter. It sounds hopeful. Hopeful that Simon now knows the true extent of his legacy, the oppression of his people, the erasure of his history, and the enforcement of a worldview painted in red. But with that knowledge, Simon now knew that his future was painted in the color of blue. Thank you so much for watching this video. Blueprints was one of my favorite games of last year, and seeing it achieve this almost instant cult status brings joy to my heart. Mr. Ross really deserves it after all the hard work he's put in. Also, the biggest of shoutouts to Trigan Gusset, whose soundtrack has been on repeat in my headphones this past year. Thank you all again so much for watching, and have a beautiful rest of your day.